former Hewlett-Packard CEO and 2016 GOP presidential candidate. Carly Fiorina is here to go on the record. Carly, I'm happy to be here to talk to you about foreign policy because I think you were one of the first candidates to articulate with specificity a real strategic and strong foreign policy approach for the United States going forward. And tell us a little bit about your experience.
Well, first, let me just say that the House did absolutely the right thing, and how unbelievable it is that our commander-in-chief threatens to veto a common-sense bill. How unbelievable it is that he's sitting in the Philippines castigating Republicans instead of standing up and leading when we need leadership. Look, specifically what we need to do is understand that ISIS is an evil that is waging war against us, and so we have to wage a war against them and win. It's that simple and that clear. I've also been advocating for some time that we provide our allies, most of whom I know in that region, that we provide our allies with the support they have been asking for, whether it's bombs and materiel, which King Abdullah of Jordan has been asking for, or intelligence sharing, which the Egyptians have been asking for. There is so much we can and should have been doing over the last couple of years that we haven't been. Now we need to really put our pedal to the metal. It does not mean that we have to put 20,000 or even 10,000 boots on the ground, but it does mean that only the United States of America can lead this fight against ISIS. Our allies expect support and resolve from us. President Obama has not been providing it, and I will.
Okay, and a little bit more about your foreign policy experience, because you seem very comfortable in that in terms of it being one of your wheelhouses.
Well, first, I've done business and charity and policy work around the world for decades. I mean, I've been in the Middle East and in Europe and in China. I've met world leaders, more world leaders probably than anyone else running, with the possible exception of Hillary Clinton. Also chaired the advisory board at the CIA, advised the CIA, the NSA, 2 secretaries of defense, a secretary of state and a secretary of homeland security. I've held the highest clearances available to a civilian. I know most of our military generals, and I know what a tragedy it is that some of our greatest military minds, whether it's Stan McChrystal or Jack Keane or Mike Flynn or General Petraeus, basically were shoved aside and their advice has been ignored, much to the peril of this nation.
Most certainly, and recently we've seen pretty strong criticism by President Obama of the Republican presidential candidates for their response to taking in these refugees, calling them un-American. What's your message to President Obama?
President Obama he knows only one thing: politics. All he knows is a political campaign. So I guess he's like Hillary Clinton in thinking that Republicans are the enemy. Actually, Republicans are not the enemy. ISIS is the enemy. Russia actually is an adversary. Iran is the enemy. This president continues to pacify our enemies. He's delusional about the strength of Iran and the strength of ISIS. It's an easy shot to talk about Republicans. But, in fact, the House, with many Democrat votes, has done absolutely the right thing here in saying this is insanity, that we would let in Syrian refugees if we cannot determine whether or not they represent a risk to this country.
Yeah, it's very troubling to many Americans that the president, leader of the free world, is saving his vitriol and most angry, and divisive rhetoric for those that are serving this country, that are trying to run for president, that are Americans, calling them un-American.
That's right.
And instead, he seems to be angry with them than he is with ISIS and the people that will do us harm,
I mean,
which is very problematic.
Politics is what gets his passion up, not leading, not being commander-in-chief. He reminds me of Hillary Clinton saying that we need to empathize with our enemies, or John Kerry trying to find justification the Charlie Hebdo Act. They still don't understand the nature of the enemy they are up against.
And they are reluctant, in fact, to even identify and call the enemy by name. Hillary Clinton, you bring it up, but she's refusing to say radical Islam. It's just absent from her lexicon.
And by the way, not only is she refusing to say radical Islam or radical Islamic terrorism, which is clearly what it is, but she also then goes on in a speech today once again to say we're not at war with Islam. Why do they feel it necessary to continue to say that? Everybody knows that, but we are at war with ISIS. And there are people, the foundation of ISIS philosophy is radical Islamic philosophy. We need to call it what it is to be able to defeat it.
All right, fantastic. Carly, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Kimberly.